The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional marketing, legal, or financial advice. Email marketing involves compliance with various international laws, such as the CAN-SPAM Act in the United States and GDPR in Europe. Failure to adhere to these regulations can result in significant legal penalties. Furthermore, any discussion of performance metrics or revenue growth represents historical trends and case studies, rather than a prediction of future results. Your individual success will depend on your specific industry, audience engagement, and implementation strategy. Always conduct your own due diligence and consult with a qualified professional before making significant business or financial commitments. Social media is dying, and most creators are just waiting for the funeral. Right now, as you watch this, a single algorithm tweak from a multi-billion-dollar tech giant could wipe out your entire reach, your customer base, and your livelihood in a matter of seconds. We have seen it happen to some of the biggest names on this platform. They wake up to find their views have plummeted by 90% because a developer in Silicon Valley shifted a line of code. If you are building your entire business on land you do not own, you are essentially a digital sharecropper. But there is a secret that the world's most successful brands and solo entrepreneurs use to stay immune to the algorithm apocalypse. It is a technology that is older than the World Wide Web itself, yet it consistently outconverts every other marketing channel by a factor of 40 to 1. While the average person thinks it is a relic of the 90s, the top 1% of earners know it is the only asset they truly own. In this deep dive masterclass, I am going to show you how to build a direct line of communication to your audience that no tech giant can ever take away from you. The problem we are solving today is the volatility of the modern attention economy. Most people are stuck in a cycle of hope marketing, posting content and hoping the algorithm shows it to someone who cares. We are going to break that cycle. By the end of this series, you will understand how to transform a casual viewer into a lifelong subscriber and a loyal customer using a system that works while you sleep. We are moving beyond the surface-level tips and diving into the psychological and technical framework of professional email marketing. To understand why email is the undisputed king of digital communication, we have to look at the historical trends of consumer behavior. Data from industry leaders like the Data and Marketing Association consistently shows that for every dollar spent on email marketing, the potential outcome is an average return of $36 to $42. Compare that to the fractional return seen on paid social media ads, or the hit-or-miss nature of influencer marketing. Why is this the case? Comes down to intent. When someone scrolls through a social feed, they are in a passive, discovery-based mindset. They are looking for a distraction. However, when someone opens their inbox, they are in a task-oriented mindset. They are there to process information, make decisions, and take action. Email marketing is the practice of sending a commercial message, typically to a group of people, using email. In its broadest sense, every email sent to a potential or current customer could be considered email marketing. However, the professional application we are discussing involves the strategic use of automated sequences, segmentation, and personalized content to move a lead through a funnel. It is not about blasting a list. It is about building a relationship. Think about your own digital habits. You might change your phone number, you might move houses, and you might definitely delete a social media app if it becomes too cluttered or toxic. But your email address? Most people keep the same primary email address for over a decade. It is your digital social security number. It is what you use to sign up for banking, utilities, and every other service you value. When you get a person's email address, you aren't just getting a follower. You are getting a seat at their kitchen table. Let's look at a case study of a small e-commerce brand that transitioned from a social-only strategy to an email-first strategy. Initially, they were spending $5,000 a month on Instagram ads to drive traffic to their store. Their conversion rate hovered around 1%, and their cost per acquisition was nearly equal to their profit margin. They were essentially trading dollars. By implementing a simple welcome sequence and a weekly newsletter, they began capturing the 60% of visitors who would normally leave the site and never return. Within 6 months, their email list became their primary revenue driver, accounting for 35% of their total sales with a near-zero marginal cost per message sent. The beauty of email marketing lies in its 3 core pillars: ownership, personalization, and automation. First, let's talk about ownership. This is the most critical concept for any business owner or content creator to grasp. When you have 10,000 followers on a social platform, you do not own that list. You are effectively renting access to those people from the platform owner. If they decide to charge you to reach your own followers, which many already do, you have to pay up. With an email list, you own the data. You can export your list of subscribers as a CSV file and move it to any service provider you choose. You have total control over the delivery. Second is personalization. In the early days of the internet, email marketing was synonymous with spam, one generic message sent to millions of people. Modern email marketing is the polar opposite. Through a process called segmentation, we can ensure that a 25-year-old male in New York receives a completely different message than a 50-year-old female in London, based on their previous behavior, interests, and purchase history. We can track which links they click, how long they stay on a page, and what products they abandon in their cart. This allows for a level of relevance that social media algorithms simply cannot match. Finally, there is automation. This is the scale factor. A well-constructed email system allows a solo creator to provide a high-touch, personalized experience to 100,000 people simultaneously. You can set up triggers so that when a person performs a specific action, like downloading a free guide, they receive a series of 5 emails over the next week that educates them, builds trust, and eventually offers a solution to their problem. This happens automatically 24 hours a day, regardless of what you are doing. In this first part of our masterclass, we are laying the foundational mindset. Many people fail at email marketing because they treat it like a megaphone. They think the goal is to shout as loud as possible at as many people as possible. In reality, email is a telephone. It is a one-to-one communication medium. The most successful emails feel like they were written by a friend to a friend. Throughout this series, we will break down the technical setup, from choosing your service provider to crafting subject lines that have a historical trend of high open rates. We will discuss the psychology of the lead magnet, the ethical bribe you use to get someone to give you their email address in the first place. We will also dive deep into the analytics, showing you how to read the data so you can stop guessing and start growing based on evidence. The digital landscape is shifting. Privacy laws are making it harder for social platforms to track users, which means ad costs are rising while targeting is becoming less effective. In this environment, your internal database, your email list, is not just an asset. It is your insurance policy. It is the only way to ensure that 10 years from now, you still have a direct line to the people who want to hear from you. This masterclass is designed to take you from zero to a fully functional, automated marketing machine. We are going to cover everything from the basic terminology to the advanced strategies used by 8-figure brands. By the time we are done, you won't just know how to send an email. You will know how to build a community and a sustainable business. Let's get to work. To build this machine, we first have to dismantle a common myth that keeps most creators and small business owners in 2026 broke. That myth is that you need a massive audience to make email marketing work. In reality, the historical trends of high-growth startups show that a small, engaged list of 1,000 people is infinitely more valuable than 1 million passive followers on a social platform. Imagine a creator named Sarah in Austin, Texas. Sarah spends 6 hours a day filming short-form videos. She reaches millions of people, but her bank account doesn't reflect that reach because she is at the mercy of the platform's fluctuating creator fund. Now imagine her neighbor Marcus. Marcus runs a niche newsletter about sustainable urban gardening. He only has 5,000 subscribers, but he owns that data. When Marcus sends an email recommending a specific type of organic fertilizer, his historical conversion rate is 5%. That means 250 people buy that product within 4 hours of him hitting send. Sarah is working for the algorithm. Marcus has the algorithm working for him. The first technical hurdle you will face is choosing your email service provider, or ESP. This is the engine of your entire operation. Many beginners make the mistake of trying to send bulk marketing emails from a personal Gmail or Outlook account. This is a fast track to getting your domain blacklisted and your messages sent straight to the spam folder. Personal email accounts are not designed for the complex delivery protocols required for mass communication. A professional ESP, like MailChimp, ConvertKit, or Klaviyo, provides the infrastructure to ensure your emails actually land in the primary inbox. These platforms manage your sender reputation, handle automated unsubscribes to keep you compliant with the CAN-SPAM Act, and provide the detailed analytics you need to measure your potential outcomes. When selecting an ESP in 2026, you need to look at 3 specific criteria: deliverability rates, automation capabilities, and ease of segmentation. Deliverability is the most overlooked metric. If you write the world's greatest email but it lands in the promotions tab or the spam folder, your effort is wasted. High-end providers have dedicated teams that work with internet service providers like Comcast and AT&T to ensure their servers are trusted. Automation is your second criteria. You want a tool that allows for if-then logic. For example, if a subscriber clicks a link about email subject lines, the system should automatically tag them as interested in copywriting and send them a follow-up resource 3 days later. This level of granular detail is what separates a professional operation from an amateur one. Once your engine is chosen, we have to talk about the most valuable real estate in the digital world: the opt-in page. This is the gateway. You cannot just put a box on your website that says, "Sign up for my newsletter," and expect people to care. In 2026, consumers are protective of their inboxes. They receive hundreds of emails a day. To get them to give you their address, you must provide an immediate, high-value exchange known as a lead magnet. A lead magnet is a specific piece of value offered in exchange for contact information. This could be a PDF checklist, a mini video course, a discount code, or a white paper. Let's look at a case study of a fitness coach named Jordan based in Chicago. Jordan's website originally had a sidebar that said, "Join my mailing list for fitness tips." He was getting about 2 signups a week. He shifted his strategy and created a specific lead magnet titled, "The 7-Minute Morning Mobility Routine for Office Workers." He built a dedicated landing page for this offer. His sign-up rate jumped from less than 1% to over 15%. Why? Because he solved a specific problem for a specific person immediately. He wasn't asking for a vague commitment. He was offering a tangible solution. This is the step-by-step process you must follow. Identify a burning pain point your audience has, create a simple resource that solves that pain point in under 10 minutes, and place it behind an email gate. Now, consider the technical setup of that landing page. In 2026, mobile responsiveness is non-negotiable. Over 70% of your subscribers will likely see your opt-in page on a smartphone while they are in line at a coffee shop or commuting. If your page takes more than 3 seconds to load, or if the submit button is too small for a thumb to hit, you are losing money. Your headline needs to be benefit-driven. Instead of "Download my guide," use "Unlock the exact framework I use to increase my productivity by 40%. Use social proof. If you have helped 100 people, say so. If you have a testimonial from a client, put it right under the email field. This builds the necessary trust for a stranger to invite you into their private digital space. Once they hit that submit button, the most critical window of your entire relationship begins. This is the first hour. Historical trends in digital marketing show that subscriber engagement is at its absolute peak the moment they sign up. Most people waste this by sending a generic, "Confirm your subscription" email. A professional uses this moment to trigger a welcome sequence. This is a series of 3 to 5 emails sent over the first week that introduces your brand, delivers the promised lead magnet, and sets the expectations for the relationship. Think of the welcome sequence as a first date. You wouldn't show up to a first date and immediately ask the person to move in with you. Yet, many businesses send their first email and immediately try to sell a high-ticket product. This leads to high unsubscribe rates and poor brand perception. Instead, your first email should be pure value. Deliver the lead magnet, introduce yourself briefly, and tell them exactly how often they will hear from you. The second email, sent 24 hours later, should provide a quick win. Give them a piece of advice they can implement in 5 minutes. The third email should tell a story, perhaps a case study of a client who struggled with the same problems they are facing and how they overcame them. By the time you get to the 4th or 5th email, you have established yourself as an authority and a friend, not a solicitor. The math of this system is what makes it so powerful. Let's say you spend $200 on highly targeted ads to drive traffic to your landing page. If your page converts at 20%, you have just acquired 40 leads at $5 per lead. If your automated welcome sequence is optimized, and just 5% of those leads eventually purchase a $50 product, you have made $250. You have not only covered your ad spend, but you have also gained 40 subscribers for free who you can continue to market to for years. This is the potential outcome of a well-oiled email machine. It turns advertising from an expense into a self-funding customer acquisition tool. But there is a massive trap waiting for you. Even if you have the best DSP, a high-converting lead magnet, and a perfect welcome sequence, there is one thing that can destroy your entire strategy before it even starts. It is the silent killer of email marketing, the spam complaint. If too many people mark your emails as spam, your deliverability will tank, and your emails will stop showing up even for the people who actually want them. This is why understanding the legal and ethical framework of permission-based marketing is your top priority. You are a guest in their inbox. If you start acting like an intruder, you will be kicked out. However, even if you follow all the rules, there is a psychological barrier you have to break through. Most people are afraid to send too many emails because they don't want to annoy their list. This fear is what keeps your revenue stagnant. There is a specific frequency that maximizes engagement without triggering mass unsubscribes, and it is likely much higher than you think. But before we can talk about how often to send, we have to talk about what exactly you are putting in those emails to keep people from hitting that unsubscribe button. In the next part, we are going to dive into the art of the subject line and the open rate. I am going to show you the psychological triggers that make it physically difficult for a subscriber to scroll past your email without clicking. If you think you know how to write a headline, wait until you see the data on what actually moves the needle in 2026. The average American professional in 2026 receives over 120 emails every single day. Their inbox is a digital battlefield where your message is competing against calendar invites, bank alerts, shipping notifications, and newsletters from every brand they have ever interacted with. If you cannot win the battle for the open, the most brilliant copy in the world is effectively invisible. This is the psychology of the subject line, and it is the single most important variable in your marketing funnel. Historical trends show that 47% of email recipients open an email based on the subject line alone, and 69% of people report email as spam based solely on the subject line. This means you are judged before you are even read. To master the open rate, we have to look at the three-part framework of the inbox display: the sender name, the subject line, and the pre-header text. Imagine a user named Michael living in Seattle. Michael is checking his phone during a 30-second break between meetings. He sees a notification. If the sender name is a generic company name like Global Marketing Solutions, Michael is likely to categorize it as a corporate announcement and ignore it. However, if the sender name is Sarah at Global Marketing, the human-to-human connection increases the likelihood of an open. In 2026, the data suggests that using a personal name alongside a brand name can increase open rates by up to 20% compared to using a brand name alone. This creates an immediate sense of familiarity and trust. Once the sender name clears the first mental filter, the subject line takes center stage. To write subject lines that get opened in a crowded 2026 environment, you must understand the information gap theory. This is a psychological concept where you present a piece of information that creates a gap between what the reader knows and what they want to know. The brain feels a natural urge to close that gap by clicking. For example, compare a standard subject line like tips for better email marketing with an information gap subject line like the one word that is killing your open rates. The first is a generic promise of value. The second is a specific warning about a mistake the reader might be making. Let us look at a case study from a mid-sized software company that was struggling with a stagnant 15% open rate. They decided to implement a rigorous A/B testing strategy focusing on 4 distinct psychological triggers: curiosity, utility, scarcity, and social proof. In the curiosity test, they used subject lines that were short and slightly mysterious, such as "we did not expect this" or "this is a bit awkward." In the utility test, they were direct and benefit-heavy, such as "how to save 4 hours a week on admin." The scarcity test emphasized time-sensitive opportunities like "only 6 spots left for the workshop." Finally, the social proof test leveraged the behavior of others, such as "join the 5,000 experts using this tool." The historical data from this case study showed a fascinating trend. While the curiosity subject lines had the highest initial open rates, reaching nearly 35%, they often led to lower conversion rates inside the email if the content did not perfectly match the intrigue. The utility subject lines had a steady 25% open rate, but resulted in the highest quality leads. This teaches us a vital lesson for 2026. You cannot just trick people into opening. The subject line must be a truthful trailer for the movie that is your email. If you bait and switch your audience, your spam complaints will skyrocket, and your domain reputation will suffer. The third and most neglected part of the inbox display is the pre-header or preview text. This is the short snippet of text that follows the subject line in most email clients. In 2026, with the dominance of mobile devices, the pre-header is often just as long as the subject line itself. Many amateurs let this space be filled by default text like "having trouble viewing this email?" or "view in browser." This is wasted real estate. A professional uses the pre-header to provide a secondary hook that supports the subject line. If your subject line is the secret to better focus, your pre-header should be "No, it is not drinking more coffee." This creates a 1-2 punch that makes the email irresistible. Step by step, the process for crafting your subject line in 2026 should look like this. First, write the email body. You cannot summarize what you have not yet built. Second, write 10 different subject lines for that single email. This forces you to move past the obvious, boring ideas and find the creative angles. Third, select the top 2 and run an A/B split test. Most modern email service providers allow you to send version A to 10% of your list and version B to another 10%. The system then automatically sends the winning version to the remaining 80%, based on which one received more opens in the first 2 hours. This is how you use real-world data to dictate your strategy, rather than relying on gut feeling. Furthermore, we must address the technical reality of 2026. Major email providers like Apple and Google have introduced advanced privacy features that can sometimes mask whether an email was truly opened by a human or prefetched by a server. This means that while open rates are still a vital health metric for your list, they should not be your only metric. We look at historical trends to see if open rates are rising or falling over time, but we prioritize the actions taken after the open. Imagine another scenario. You are a freelance graphic designer named Alex. You send out a weekly newsletter to 500 potential clients. You use a subject line like "My latest design portfolio." You get a 10% open rate. The next week, you change your approach and use a subject line like "Why your current logo might be costing you sales." You see the open rate jump to 30%. That increase represents an additional 100 people who are now engaging with your expertise. Over a year, that single shift in subject line strategy could represent thousands of additional eyes on your work and a significant increase in potential business opportunities. To keep these rates high, you must also master the art of the list cleanup. Historical trends show that sending emails to people who never open them actually hurts your ability to reach the people who do. If Gmail sees that you have 1,000 subscribers and only 100 ever open your emails, their filters assume your content is low quality and start sending it to the promotions or spam folders for everyone. By regularly removing inactive subscribers, those who have not opened an email in 90 days, you tell the email providers that your list is highly engaged. This paradoxically means that by having a smaller list, you can actually reach more people and generate better potential outcomes. However, getting the email opened is only the beginning of the battle. Once they are inside, you have a matter of seconds to hold their attention and move them toward a specific action. Most people fail here because they treat the body of the email like a formal letter or a cluttered advertisement. They overwhelm the reader with too many choices and lose them in the process. In the next part, we are going to break down the anatomy of a high-conversion email body. I will show you how to structure your copy so that it is impossible not to read, and how to place your call to action in a way that generates a click every single time. We are moving from the psychology of the open to the science of the click, and this is where the real revenue is generated. Imagine a subscriber named David in Denver. It is a Tuesday morning in 2026, and David is sitting in his self-driving commuter pod, scanning his mobile device. He has just clicked on your subject line because it promised to solve a specific frustration he has with his freelance taxes. Now, you have exactly 3 seconds to convince him that his click was not a mistake. If David sees a wall of dense, academic text or a cluttered mess of flashing discount banners, he will hit the back button before he has processed a single word. This is where the anatomy of your email body becomes the difference between a bounce and a conversion. In the modern attention economy, the goal of your copy is not just to inform, but to lead the eye down a frictionless path toward a single, inevitable action. To achieve this, we follow the rule of one. This is a foundational principle in professional copywriting where every single email is built around one reader, one specific problem, one clear solution, and one desired action. Amateurs try to pack 3 different offers and 5 different updates into a single weekly blast. This creates choice paralysis. Historical trends in consumer psychology show that when a human is presented with too many options, they often choose none. By focusing on the rule of one, you align your message with the specific intent that got the email opened in the first place. The first sentence of your email, often referred to as the lead, carries the heavy lifting. In 2026, simply saying "Hello David" is no longer enough to establish a connection. You need to immediately validate the information gap you created in the subject line. If your subject was about the hidden cost of freelance taxes, your first sentence should dive straight into the heart of that reality. A powerful technique used by high-converting brands is the PAS framework: problem, agitation, and solution. You start by identifying the problem. For David, it is the complexity of quarterly filings. You then agitate that problem by explaining the consequences of ignoring it, such as the potential outcome of heavy IRS penalties or lost sleep during tax season. Finally, you present the solution, which is your specific piece of content, service, or product. Let us look at a case study of a boutique consultancy in New York that specialized in career coaching. They were sending out beautifully designed HTML emails filled with high-resolution images and multiple buttons. Their click-through rate was hovering at a disappointing 1.2%. They decided to pivot to a plain text approach using the PAS framework. They sent a simple, text-based email that looked like it came from a friend. It identified a common career roadblock, agitated the feeling of being stuck in a dead-end job, and offered a solution in the form of a 10-minute strategy video. By removing the visual clutter and focusing on the psychological narrative, their click-through rate tripled to 3.8% within 1 month. This historical data proves that in an era of overstimulation, simplicity and directness are often the most effective tools in your arsenal. The physical structure of your email in 2026 must be optimized for the F pattern of reading. Eye tracking studies show that digital readers scan in a shape that resembles the letter F. They read the top horizontal line, then a shorter horizontal line further down, and finally, they scan the left side of the screen vertically. To cater to this, you should keep your paragraphs extremely short, ideally no more than 2 to 3 lines. Use bullet points to break up complex information, and ensure that your most important points are placed at the beginning of your sentences. This makes your email scannable, allowing a busy professional like David to extract the value, even if he is only giving you a cursory glance. Furthermore, we must discuss the science of the call to action, or CTA. This is the moment of truth. A professional CTA is not a vague link buried at the bottom of a page. It is a clear, benefit-driven command. Instead of using generic phrases like click here or read more, use action-oriented language that describes the outcome. For example, get your tax-saving checklist or watch the strategy session now. Historical trends suggest that placing your CTA link or button in 3 strategic locations, once near the beginning for the fast movers, once in the middle after the agitation phase, and once at the very end, significantly increases the likelihood of a click. There is also the psychological power of the PS or postscript. In the world of direct response marketing, the PS is often the second most read part of an email after the subject line. Many readers will scroll straight to the bottom to see how long the message is. By including a PS that reiterates your main offer or adds a sense of urgency, you catch those scrollers and pull them back into the narrative. For instance, you might write PS. The early bird access to our tax workshop ends tonight at midnight, so make sure to grab your spot before the price increases. This utilizes the principle of scarcity without being aggressive, guiding the user toward a decision based on historical trends of time-sensitive behavior. Step by step, when you are drafting your email body, you should first identify the primary emotion you want to evoke. Is it relief, curiosity, or the fear of missing out? Once you have the emotion, write your lead sentence to hook that feeling. Build the body of the email using short, punchy sentences that maintain a conversational tone. Imagine you are sitting across a desk from your subscriber, explaining a concept to them over a cup of coffee. This human-centric approach bypasses the mental filters people have developed against corporate marketing. Consider a scenario where a software developer named Chloe in San Francisco wants to increase engagement for her coding bootcamp. She could send a technical breakdown of a new programming language. Or, she could tell a story about a student who spent 3 years trying to learn on their own, before discovering one specific mental framework that made everything click. The story-based approach creates an emotional bridge. It allows the reader to see themselves in the narrative. When Chloe includes a link at the end of that story, the subscriber is not just clicking a button. They are taking a step toward solving their own frustration. However, even the most perfect email body can fail if it is sent to the wrong person at the wrong time. This is where the distinction between a mass broadcaster and a strategic marketer becomes clear. If you send a beginner-level tax tip to a seasoned CPA, you lose credibility. If you send a high-level corporate strategy to a college student, you lose their attention. To prevent this, you must master the art of organizing your audience, so that the content they receive is always relevant to their current stage in the journey. This leads us to the technical backbone of modern email success. In the next part, we are going to look at the power of segmentation and tagging. I will show you how to move away from the one-size-fits-all approach, and how to use data to treat every subscriber like an individual. You will learn the exact methods used to group your audience by behavior, interest, and purchase history, ensuring that your emails are always welcomed and never ignored. If the email body is the heart of your campaign, segmentation is the brain that tells it where to go. We are about to dive into the data-driven strategies that allow you to scale personalization to thousands of people without losing the human touch. To understand the power of segmentation, you have to look at the massive shift in consumer expectations that has occurred leading up to 2026. 5 years ago, a generic newsletter might have been tolerated. Today, in a world of hyper-personalized artificial intelligence, a generic email is viewed as digital noise. Imagine a subscriber named Ethan living in Miami. Ethan is an avid cyclist who has just purchased a high-end road bike from an online retailer. 2 days later, he receives an email from that same retailer promoting a 30% discount on beginner mountain biking gear. Ethan does not own a mountain bike. He has no interest in mountain biking. To Ethan, this brand has just proven that they do not know him, they do not value his specific interests, and they are simply shouting into the void. This is the moment Ethan hits the unsubscribe button, and the brand loses a high-value customer forever. Segmentation is the process of dividing your email list into smaller, targeted groups based on specific criteria. Tagging is the technical mechanism we use to label those individuals so the system knows which group they belong to. Think of your email list as a massive filing cabinet. Without segmentation, every single piece of paper is thrown into one giant drawer in no particular order. With segmentation and tagging, you have neatly organized folders that allow you to pull exactly what you need for exactly the right person. Historical trends in the digital marketing space suggest that segmented campaigns can lead to a 760% increase in revenue because the content is relevant to the recipient's current reality. Let us look at a case study of a specialized kitchenware brand called Culinary Pro that implemented a deep segmentation strategy in early 2026. Originally, they sent one weekly email to their entire list of 50,000 subscribers featuring a random assortment of products. Their click-through rate was less than 2%. They decided to implement a self-segmentation survey on their welcome page. When a new user signed up, they were asked one simple question: what is your primary cooking style? The options were vegan, meat lover, or professional chef. Based on the answer, the subscriber was instantly tagged. A user who selected vegan was tagged as category plant-based. From that moment on, they never saw an ad for a steak knife set or a heavy-duty meat smoker. Instead, they received content about high-speed blenders for nut milks and precision vegetable mandolins. By simply aligning the content with the tag, Culinary Pro saw their open rates jump from 18% to 42%. This was not magic. It was the result of honoring the subscriber's identity. Potential outcomes for your own business include higher deliverability, because major providers like Gmail see that your subscribers are actually interacting with what you send. There are 3 primary layers of segmentation you need to master in 2026: demographic, psychographic, and behavioral. Demographic segmentation is the most basic. It includes data points like location, age, and gender. If you are a clothing brand and you are running a winter coat sale, you do not want to send that email to your subscribers in Southern California or Florida where it is 80 degrees. By segmenting by zip code, you ensure that only the people in the Northeast or Midwest receive the offer. This prevents you from looking out of touch and keeps your engagement metrics healthy. Psychographic segmentation goes deeper into the why. It looks at interests, values, and personality traits. This is often captured through those aforementioned surveys or by tracking which types of content a user interacts with most frequently. If a subscriber consistently clicks on articles about sustainable living, they should be tagged with an interest tag for sustainability. You can then send them specific offers for eco-friendly products that they are much more likely to purchase based on historical trends of their own behavior. The most powerful layer, however, is behavioral segmentation. This is based on what the user actually does. Did they open the last 3 emails? Tag them as highly engaged. Have they not opened an email in 6 months? Tag them as inactive and move them into a win-back sequence. Did they put a pair of running shoes in their cart but leave without buying? This is the abandoned cart tag, and it is the most profitable tag in all of email marketing. Step by step, here is how you implement a behavioral tag. Within your email service provider, you set up a logic gate. You tell the system, if a user clicks the link in email A, then apply the tag interested in web design. Now, you have a subset of your list that has raised their hand and told you exactly what they want to see next. You are no longer guessing. You are responding to their direct actions. Imagine if you are a consultant named Maya in Atlanta. You have a list of 2,000 people. You send an email with 2 links. Link 1 is how to scale your agency, and link 2 is how to find your first client. Half your list clicks link 1, and the other half clicks link 2. If you send a find your first client sales pitch to the people who are already trying to scale a 10-person agency, you look like an amateur. But if you use those clicks to segment your list, you can send 2 different emails that speak directly to the specific challenges each group is facing. This is how you build an unbreakable bond of trust with your audience. Furthermore, we have to talk about the lifecycle stage. A subscriber who joined your list yesterday should not be receiving the same emails as a customer who has been buying from you for 3 years. You use tags to track the journey. You might have tags for new subscriber, lead, first-time buyer, and VIP customer. A VIP customer, someone who has spent over $1,000 with you, should get exclusive early access to new products or special thank you notes that aren't available to the general public. This utilizes the psychological principle of reciprocity and belonging, which historical trends show is a primary driver of long-term brand loyalty. To make this work at scale, you must utilize the automation features of your ESP. You don't manually apply these tags. You build the if/then infrastructure and let the machine handle it. For example, you can set a rule that says if a subscriber's total spend exceeds $500, automatically remove the lead tag and add the VIP tag. This triggers a specific automated welcome to the inner circle email. It is seamless, it is personal, and it happens while you are focusing on other parts of your business. The technical setup for this requires a clean data structure. Before you start tagging everything, sit down and map out your tagging taxonomy. Decide on a naming convention so you don't end up with 5 different tags for the same thing, like web design, and interested_web. Consistency is key to ensuring your segments remain accurate as your list grows into the tens of thousands. By the end of this process, you will have moved away from the batch and blast method that is currently killing most small businesses. You will have a dynamic living database that understands and reacts to your audience in real time. You will be sending fewer emails, but making more impact with every single one of them. But even with the most advanced segmentation in the world, your emails still won't convert if they aren't delivered at the right time. Timing is not just about the day of the week or the hour of the day. It is about where the subscriber is in their mental journey. This is where we move into the world of automated nurture sequences. In the next part, I am going to show you how to build a digital salesperson that works for you 24/7. We are going to map out the exact sequence of emails that takes a total stranger and turns them into a high-paying client without you ever having to lift a finger after the initial setup. If you want to know how the elite 10% of marketers build systems that generate revenue on autopilot, the next part is where the real masterclass begins. In the digital landscape of 2026, the most successful entrepreneurs have realized that they cannot be everywhere at once. If you are manually replying to every inquiry or trying to remember to follow up with a lead 5 days after they download your guide, you are already losing the game. This is where we introduce the concept of the automated nurture sequence, often referred to as your digital salesperson. This is a series of pre-written emails that are triggered by a specific action and delivered on a predetermined schedule. This system does not get tired, it does not forget to follow up, and it delivers a consistent brand message to every single person who enters your ecosystem. Historical trends in automated marketing show that businesses using automation to nurture prospects experience a 451% increase in qualified leads. Imagine a professional named Amanda living in Phoenix. Amanda runs a high-end interior design consultancy. In the past, when a potential client filled out a contact form on her website, Amanda would try to email them back within 24 hours. However, between managing current projects and site visits, she often missed the window. By the time she responded, the lead had already contacted 3 other designers. In 2026, Amanda uses an automated nurture sequence. The moment a lead downloads her brochure on modern Southwest textures, the system springs into action. Amanda is effectively cloned. While she is sleeping or in a meeting, her digital salesperson is building trust, demonstrating expertise, and moving that lead toward a consultation. The first email in this sequence is the delivery email. This happens instantly. In a world of instant gratification, a 5-minute delay can feel like an eternity. This email must deliver exactly what was requested, but it should also do something more. It should set the stage. Instead of a dry link, Amanda's email says, "Here is your guide to Southwest textures. But I also want to show you how these elements actually look in a completed home over the next few days. This creates an open loop. The subscriber now knows to expect more value, which historical trends suggest significantly increases the open rates of the subsequent emails in the chain. The second email, typically sent 24 to 48 hours later, is the social proof and education email. This is where you move from being a stranger to a trusted authority. You don't sell here, you teach. Amanda might send an email titled, "How One Phoenix Family Reclaimed Their Living Room." Inside, she shares a mini case study. She describes the problem the family faced, the specific textures they used, and the potential outcome of the redesign. She includes a high-resolution image and a testimonial. This utilizes the psychological principle of social proof. The subscriber thinks, if she did this for them, she can do it for me. The third email in a high-performance sequence is the objection crusher. Every person on your list has a reason why they haven't bought from you yet. It might be time, it might be money, or it might be a lack of belief that the solution will work for them. A professional marketer anticipates these objections. Amanda knows that many people fear a home renovation will be too disruptive to their daily life. So her third email is, "The Truth About Renovation Timelines." She explains her process for minimizing mess and sticking to a schedule. By addressing the elephant in the room, before the customer even brings it up, she lowers their defensive barriers. The fourth email is the value add and logic email. This is where you provide a quick win. You want the subscriber to experience the value of your expertise for free. Amanda might send a simple checklist for choosing the right lighting for high desert sun. This reinforces the idea that she is a helpful resource, not just a salesperson. This email also includes a soft call to action. It might say, "If you are finding these tips helpful, we actually dive much deeper into this during our initial design audit." This seeds the idea of the paid service without being aggressive. The fifth and final email in this initial nurture phase is the hard call to action. This is where you ask for the date. Based on the historical trends of decision-making, by this point, the subscriber has had enough touchpoints to form an opinion of your brand. Amanda's final email is direct. "Let's plan your space." She offers a specific link to her calendar and perhaps adds a touch of scarcity, noting that she only takes on 2 new projects per month to ensure quality. This creates a logical conclusion to the sequence. The technical implementation of this in 2026 involves setting up wait steps within your email service provider. You don't want to bombard a user with 5 emails in 5 hours. You want a natural cadence. A common mistake is setting these delays to exactly 24 hours. If a person signs up at 11 p.m., they will receive all your follow-ups at 11 p.m. when they are likely in bed. Smart marketers use time-of-day windows, ensuring emails land in the inbox between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. in the recipient's local time zone. Furthermore, we must look at the data of the ghosting lead. What happens if someone goes through all 5 emails and does not click or book? Most amateurs delete them or ignore them. A professional has a long-term nurture sequence. After the initial 5-day sprint, the user is automatically moved to a list that receives 1 high-value email per week. This keeps the brand top of mind. Case studies show that a significant portion of revenue in 2026 comes from leads who were on a list for 6 months or more before they were finally ready to pull the trigger. They just needed more time, and the automated system provided that time without costing the business owner a single extra minute of work. Another advanced layer of this digital salesperson is the re-engagement trigger. If a subscriber who has been inactive for 3 months suddenly opens an old email or visits your pricing page, the system can detect this behavior. It can automatically send a "Hey, I noticed you were looking at this" style email. This is not creepy when done correctly. It is helpful. It provides the right information at the exact moment the user is thinking about the problem. The potential outcomes of building this infrastructure are profound. You move from a hustle culture where you are constantly chasing the next lead to a system culture where your business grows predictably. You are no longer trading your time for every single dollar. You are building an asset. However, even the most perfect automation can be undermined if you aren't watching the scoreboard. You can have 1,000 people going through your sequence, but if you don't know where they are falling off, you cannot improve the system. Most people look at the wrong numbers. They get excited about total subscribers, but ignore the metrics that actually indicate business health. In the next part, we are going to dive into the world of email analytics and KPIs. I am going to show you how to read the data like a pro, which numbers actually matter in 2026, and how to spot the leaks in your funnel that are costing you money every single day. We are moving from the set it and forget it phase to the optimize and scale phase. In the hyper-competitive digital landscape of 2026, operating by gut feeling is a luxury you can no longer afford. Most people treat their email dashboard like a slot machine. They pull the lever by hitting send and hope for a jackpot without ever looking at the mechanical gears behind the screen. If you want to scale a business to 7 or 8 figures, you have to transition from a content creator to a data scientist. You need to understand that every percentage point on your dashboard represents a specific human behavior, and every drop in those numbers is a leak in your profit bucket. To master the optimize and scale phase, we have to look at the metrics that actually drive growth, while ignoring the vanity metrics that only serve to stroke your ego. Imagine a business owner named Tyler from Columbus, Ohio. Tyler runs an e-commerce brand specializing in high-end, modular desk accessories for home offices. In early 2026, Tyler has built a list of 20,000 subscribers through a mix of social media traffic and a very effective lead magnet. On the surface, things look great. His open rates are sitting at a comfortable 30%. However, Tyler is frustrated because his revenue from email has plateaued. He is sending more emails than ever, but his bank account isn't reflecting the effort. When we dive into Tyler's analytics, we see the classic symptoms of a data-blind marketer. Tyler is obsessed with his open rate, but he has completely ignored his click-to-open rate and his attribution window. Let us break down the first essential metric for 2026, the click-through rate or CTR. While the open rate tells you if your subject line worked, the CTR tells you if your content worked. This is calculated by taking the number of people who clicked a link and dividing it by the total number of emails delivered. If you send 10,000 emails and 200 people click, your CTR is 2%. Historical trends suggest that a healthy CTR for a promotional email is between 1 and 3%, while an educational or newsletter-style email can often reach 5% or higher. If Tyler's CTR is dropping while his opens stay high, it means he is great at getting people into the room, but he is boring them once they arrive. However, the more advanced and telling metric is the click-to-open rate, or CTOR. This is the ultimate measure of content relevance. Unlike the standard CTR, which uses your entire delivered list as the denominator, the CTOR only looks at the people who actually open the email. If 3,000 people opened Tyler's email and 300 clicked, his CTOR is 10%. This is a pure signal. It tells you how effective your copy and your call to action were for the people who actually engaged with the message. If your CTOR is low, you have a mismatch between your subject line and your body copy. You are making a promise in the inbox that you aren't fulfilling in the email itself. In 2026, with the rise of AI-generated content, subscribers have a hair trigger for irrelevance. If the CTOR drops below 8%, it is time to overhaul your storytelling and your offer structure. Now let us look at the silent killer of list health, the bounce rate. There are 2 types of bounces you must track in 2026. Hard bounces and soft bounces. A hard bounce occurs when the email address is invalid, closed, or non-existent. This is a permanent failure. A soft bounce is a temporary issue, such as a full inbox or a temporary server glitch. Historical trends show that if your hard bounce rate exceeds 1%, you are in the danger zone. High bounce rates signal to major providers like Google and Outlook that you are either using an old, dirty list or worse, you are a spammer. In Tyler's case, his bounce rate started creeping up to 3% because he hadn't cleaned his list in over a year. This was causing his emails to be diverted to the promotions tab for his most loyal customers. Step by step, the fix for this is simple. Implement a sunset policy. If a subscriber hasn't opened an email in 90 days and has a history of soft bounces, they must be removed immediately to protect the deliverability of the rest of the list. Next, we must discuss the conversion rate. This is where the math of your business is truly solved. It is the percentage of people who clicked through and then completed the desired action, such as making a purchase or booking a call. Imagine Tyler sends an email that generates 500 clicks to his product page. If 10 of those people buy a modular desk shelf for $100, his conversion rate from that email is 2%. His revenue from the email is $1,000. This gives us the most important scaling metric of all: revenue per subscriber, or RPS. By taking the total revenue generated by an email and dividing it by the number of subscribers it was sent to, Tyler can see exactly what each name on his list is worth. If his RPS is 5 cents, he knows that adding 1,000 subscribers will likely lead to an extra $50 in revenue per email. This allows him to confidently spend money on ads, knowing the potential outcome of that investment. Furthermore, we have to address the concept of the unsubscribe rate. Many beginners view an unsubscribe as a personal rejection. In 2026, professional marketers view an unsubscribe as a favor. A healthy unsubscribe rate is typically between 0.1 and 0.5% per email. If someone unsubscribes, they are telling you that they are no longer part of your target audience. By leaving, they are actually helping your deliverability and your CTOR. The only time you should worry is if you see a sudden spike. If Tyler sends an email and 2% of his list leaves in 1 hour, he has likely offended his audience or strayed too far from his brand promise. Let us look at a case study of a software-as-a-service company in 2026 that used data to save their failing launch. They were seeing a high open rate of 40%, but their conversion rate was nearly zero. By diving into their heat map analytics, which shows exactly where people are clicking within an email, they realized that most users were clicking on a link in the footer that led to their social media profiles rather than the main call to action button. They were literally paying to send their leads away from their own sales page. By removing the social icons and making the primary CTA button larger and more benefit-driven, they shifted their conversion rate from 0.2% to 2.4% overnight. This is the power of optimization. To scale like a pro, you must also understand attribution windows. In 2026, a customer might see your email on Tuesday, browse your site on Wednesday, and finally buy on Friday after seeing a retargeting ad. Most basic analytics will only credit the last thing the customer clicked. You need to use multi-touch attribution to see how your email marketing is contributing to the overall journey. Historical trends suggest that email is often the first touchpoint that creates the awareness and the final touchpoint that closes the deal. If you are Tyler, and you see that your emails are driving massive traffic but the sales are happening 3 days later, you don't stop sending emails. You lean in. You realize that your email is the fuel for your entire marketing engine. But there is a ceiling to this growth. You can have the best data and the highest conversion rates, but if your emails are being blocked by the technical gatekeepers of the internet, your business will hit a wall. Even with perfect math, you are at the mercy of the inbox service providers. In the next part, we are going to pull back the curtain on the most technical and misunderstood part of this entire masterclass: deliverability and sender reputation. I am going to show you how to ensure your emails never see the inside of a spam folder again. We will discuss the hidden scores that Gmail and Outlook assign to your domain, and the 3 technical records you must set up today to prove you are a legitimate sender. If you have ever wondered why your emails are disappearing into the void, the next 10 minutes will change everything you think you know about how the internet actually works. To understand deliverability in 2026, you have to realize that every time you hit send, your domain is undergoing a secret background check that would make a high-level security clearance look casual. Most people think their email goes from their computer to their subscriber's inbox. In reality, it goes through a gauntlet of filters, firewalls, and reputation checks. If you fail any of these, your message is either deleted before it is ever seen or buried in the spam folder where it will never be opened. This is the world of sender reputation, and in 2026, it is the single most important factor in your marketing success. Imagine a business owner named Emily from Boston. Emily runs a high-end, custom pet accessory brand. She has spent months crafting the perfect educational newsletter about canine nutrition. Her subject lines are brilliant, and her content is top tier. However, Emily has been seeing her open rates drop from 30% down to a measly 4% over the last month. She hasn't changed her strategy, and she hasn't bought any shady lists. What Emily doesn't realize is that her domain has been flagged by Gmail and Outlook because she never set up her technical authentication records. To the internet's gatekeepers, Emily looks like a sophisticated fisher rather than a legitimate business owner. The first technical pillar you must master is SPF, or Sender Policy Framework. Think of SPF as a pre-approved guest list for a high-security event. When an email from Emily's domain arrives at a subscriber's server, that server checks Emily's DNS records to see which IP addresses are authorized to send mail on her behalf. If Emily is using an email service provider like ConvertKit, but hasn't added them to her SPF record, the receiving server sees a discrepancy. It assumes a third party is trying to spoof her identity. In 2026, a failing SPF check is a near-guaranteed ticket to the spam folder. Setting this up involves adding a simple TXT record to your domain host that lists your authorized senders. Historical trends show that domains with a correctly configured SPF record see a significant boost in initial trust scores from major providers. The second pillar is DKIM, which stands for Domain Keys Identified Mail. If SPF is the guest list, DKIM is the wax seal on the envelope. It provides a digital signature that proves the email was not tampered with while traveling across the internet. This uses a public and private key pair. Your email provider signs every email with a private key, and the receiving server uses your public key, stored in your DNS, to verify that signature. If the signature doesn't match, it means someone might have intercepted the email and changed the links or the content. In 2026, with the rise of AI-driven man-in-the-middle attacks, DKIM is non-negotiable. It ensures that the integrity of your message remains intact from your outbox to their inbox. The third and most powerful pillar is DMARC, or Domain-Based Message Authentication, Reporting, and Conformance. This is the instruction manual you give to every receiving server on the planet. It tells them what to do if an email claiming to be from you fails the SPF or DKIM check. You can set it to P equals none, which just monitors the failures, P equals quarantine, which sends them to spam, or the gold standard of 2026, P equals reject. When you set your DMARC to reject, you are telling the world that if an email isn't perfectly authenticated, it should be deleted immediately. This protects your brand from being used in scams and tells providers like Google that you take your security seriously. Case studies from mid-sized retailers in 2026 have shown that moving from a weak DMARC policy to a strict reject policy can lead to a 15% lift in overall deliverability within 90 days. But technical records are only half the battle. We also have to talk about your sender score. This is a number between 0 and 100 assigned to your IP address and your domain by organizations like Validity. It is essentially a credit score for your email behavior. Factors that influence this score include your spam complaint rate, the number of emails you send to honeypots or trap addresses, and your overall engagement. If your score falls below 80, you are going to start seeing delivery issues. In Emily's case, her score had dropped because she was sending to an old list with a high number of hard bounces. Each bounce was a signal to the ISPs that she was a low-quality sender. Another critical concept for 2026 is IP warming. If you are starting a new business or switching to a new email provider, you cannot simply send 50,000 emails on day one. If you do, the filters will see a massive spike in volume from an unknown source and immediately block you. You have to warm up your reputation by starting small. On day one, you might send 50 emails to your most engaged subscribers. On day two, you send 100. You slowly increase this volume over 30 days. This allows the ISPs to see that real humans are opening and clicking your emails, which builds a historical trend of trust. Furthermore, we must address the concept of the dedicated versus shared IP. When you start with a standard email service provider, you are usually on a shared IP with thousands of other small businesses. This means if a shady marketer on your same IP starts sending spam, it can hurt your deliverability too. This is like living in an apartment building where one neighbor's bad behavior can get the whole building blacklisted. Once you are sending more than 50,000 emails a month, the historical data suggests it is time to move to a dedicated IP. This gives you total control over your reputation. You are the only person responsible for your score, which allows for much more predictable potential outcomes for your campaigns. In 2026, we are also seeing the mass adoption of BIMI, or brand indicators for message identification. This is the ultimate status symbol in the inbox. It allows your brand's verified logo to appear next to your sender name in the inbox. To get BIMI, you must have a strictly configured MARC policy and a verified MARC certificate. While it sounds technical, the result is a massive increase in trust. When a subscriber like David sees your official logo, he knows the email is legitimate. Historical trends show that BIMI can increase open rates by up to 10% simply because of the visual verification it provides. Step by step, your deliverability checklist should look like this. First, use a tool like Google Postmaster Tools to see how Gmail views your domain. Second, verify your SPF, DKIM, and MARC records are active and correct. Third, monitor your spam complaint rate. If it ever goes above 0.1%, you have a major problem. Finally, clean your list every 90 days to remove anyone who hasn't opened an email. This list hygiene ensures that your engagement rates stay high, which tells the algorithms that your content is valuable and deserves to be in the primary inbox. The world of deliverability is invisible but all-powerful. You can spend thousands on copy and design, but if you don't respect the technical gatekeepers, you are just shouting into a void. However, even if you land perfectly in the inbox, you still have to follow the law. In 2026, the legal landscape of email marketing has become a minefield of regulations that can lead to massive fines if ignored. In the next part, we are going to dive into the essential world of email marketing compliance and privacy. I am going to show you how to navigate the CAN-SPAM Act, GDPR, and the new privacy laws of 2026 without losing your mind or your business. We are moving from the technical to the legal, and this is where you learn how to protect everything you have built. Navigating the legal landscape of email marketing in 2026 is no longer just a task for a corporate legal team. It is a fundamental skill for every solo creator and small business owner in the United States. If you treat privacy laws as an afterthought, you are not just risking your deliverability, you are risking the very existence of your business. The Federal Trade Commission and international regulatory bodies have significantly increased their oversight of digital communications over the last few years. In 2026, a single mistake in how you handle user data can lead to penalties that are not just financial, but reputational. However, when you approach compliance as an extension of customer service rather than a legal burden, you build a level of trust with your audience that your competitors simply cannot match. Imagine a business owner named Jennifer in Chicago. Jennifer runs a successful online stationery brand. In the early stages of her growth, she was focused entirely on acquisition. She used every tactic in the book to grow her list, including some gray hat strategies like pre-checking the sign-up box on her checkout page and hiding the unsubscribe link in a tiny, light gray font at the bottom of her emails. Jennifer thought she was being clever by making it harder for people to leave. But by mid-2026, Jennifer received a formal notice of a compliance audit. Because she couldn't prove clear, affirmative consent for a large portion of her list, she was forced to delete 30% of her subscribers and pay a settlement that wiped out her entire quarterly profit. This is the reality of the modern era. The cost of cutting corners is higher than it has ever been. The foundation of American email law is the CAN-SPAM Act. And while it has been around for decades, the way it is enforced in 2026 has evolved. There are 7 core requirements you must follow to stay on the right side of the law. First, you must never use false or misleading header information. Your from, to, and reply to fields must accurately identify the person or business who initiated the message. Second, you cannot use deceptive subject lines. If your subject line says your invoice is attached, but the email is actually a sales pitch for a coaching program, you are in direct violation. Third, if your email is an advertisement, you must identify it as such. This doesn't mean you have to put AD in the subject line, but it must be clear to the recipient that the message is promotional in nature. The fourth requirement is one of the most common points of failure for new marketers. You must tell recipients where you are located. Your email must include a valid physical postal address. This can be your current street address, a post office box you have registered with the U.S. Postal Service, or a private mailbox you have registered with a commercial mail receiving agency. In 2026, many creators use a P.O. box to protect their home privacy, which is a perfectly acceptable and professional solution. Fifth, you must tell recipients how to opt out of receiving future emails from you. This must be a clear and conspicuous explanation. Sixth, you must honor opt-out requests promptly. Under the law, you have 10 business days to remove a subscriber, but in the fast-paced world of 2026, your email service provider should handle this instantly. Finally, you must monitor what others are doing on your behalf. If you hire a marketing agency and they break the law while sending emails for you, both you and the agency can be held legally responsible. While CAN-SPAM is the baseline in the United States, you must also consider the Global Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, even if you are based in a city like Nashville or Denver. In 2026, the internet has no borders. If a single person from the European Union signs up for your list, you are technically subject to GDPR requirements for that individual. GDPR is much stricter than CAN-SPAM. It requires freely given, specific, informed, and unambiguous consent. This means the days of the pre-checked box are long gone. You must use a clear opt-in mechanism where the user takes a physical action to join your list. Historical trends show that while this might slow down your list growth slightly, the quality of the subscribers you do get is significantly higher because they actually want to be there. Furthermore, we must discuss the right to be forgotten and data portability. Under modern privacy laws, a subscriber has the right to ask you for a copy of all the data you have on them, and they have the right to demand that you delete that data entirely. In 2026, your email service provider must have tools that allow you to comply with these requests with a single click. Imagine a scenario where a former customer named Robert decides he wants to minimize his digital footprint. He emails you asking for his data to be wiped, If you ignore him or tell him it's not possible, you are opening yourself up to a world of legal trouble. A professional response is to confirm the deletion within 48 hours and provide a receipt of the action. Another critical development in 2026 is the expansion of state-level privacy laws like the CCPA and CPRA in California. These laws have created a privacy-first culture across the entire United States. They give consumers the right to know what personal information is being collected and whether it is being sold or shared. This is why your privacy policy is now one of the most important pages on your website. It shouldn't be a wall of legalese that no one can read. It should be a clear, transparent document that explains what data you collect, why you collect it, and how you protect it. Historical trends in consumer behavior suggest that brands that are transparent about their data practices see a 14% higher conversion rate because customers feel safe interacting with them. To implement a compliance-first strategy step by step, start by switching to a double opt-in process. When someone signs up, they receive an automatic email asking them to click a link to confirm their subscription. This provides you with a digital paper trail of consent that is incredibly valuable during a legal audit. Next, audit your email footer. Ensure it contains your physical address and a one-click unsubscribe link. Avoid using dark patterns, tactics designed to trick users into staying, such as making them log into a website to unsubscribe or asking them, "Are you sure you want to leave?" 5 different times. In 2026, the potential outcome of making it easy to leave is a healthier, more engaged list that the algorithms love. We also need to address the technical side of privacy: data breach preparedness. In 2026, no system is perfectly unhackable. If your email service provider suffers a breach and your subscribers' information is leaked, you have a legal and ethical obligation to inform them as soon as possible. Having a breach response plan in place is no longer optional. This includes knowing which authorities to notify and having a pre-written apology and explanation email ready to go. Transparency in the face of a crisis is the only way to preserve the trust you have worked so hard to build. By following these rules, you aren't just staying out of jail. You are positioning your brand as a leader in the new digital economy. You are telling your audience that you respect them, their data, and their time. This level of professionalism is what separates the hustlers, who disappear after 6 months, from the legacy brands that thrive for decades. You have built the list, you've optimized the delivery, you've mastered the analytics, and you've secured the legal framework. Now you are ready for the final piece of the puzzle. Everything we have discussed so far is the machine, but in the final part of this masterclass, we are going to talk about the soul of your email marketing. I am going to show you how to find your unique voice and create a brand identity that makes your subscribers look forward to your emails more than their favorite TV show. We are going to put the human back into the digital, and that is where the real magic happens. The transition from building a technical machine to infusing that machine with a soul is where most marketers fail and where the elite separate themselves. In 2026, with the sheer volume of AI-generated content flooding every inbox, the human element is no longer just a nice-to-have feature. It is your primary competitive advantage. If your emails read like a corporate manual, they will be treated like one, ignored and eventually discarded. To truly get started and stay relevant, you must find a brand voice that resonates on a visceral human level. This is not about being perfect, it is about being identifiable. Imagine a creator named Kevin based in Denver. Kevin runs a newsletter dedicated to high-performance photography. For the first year, Kevin sent out technical specs, lens reviews, and discount codes. His open rates were average, and his click-through rates were stagnant. In 2026, Kevin decided to perform what we call the bar test. He started writing his emails as if he were sitting at a local brewery, explaining a concept to a friend. He stopped using professional jargon and started sharing the stories behind his failed shoots. He talked about the time he hiked 6 miles in a blizzard only to realize he had forgotten his memory cards. This vulnerability created a massive shift. His subscribers stopped seeing him as a faceless expert and started seeing him as a mentor and a friend. The historical trends of Kevin's analytics showed a 40% increase in reply rates. People weren't just reading, they were talking back. This leads us to the most powerful tool in your 2026 arsenal: narrative-driven marketing. Every email you send should follow a micro-storytelling framework. Even a simple promotional email can be structured with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Start with a hook that places the reader in a specific moment of conflict. Perhaps it is the frustration of a blurry photo, or the anxiety of a looming deadline. The middle of the email is the journey toward a solution, where you provide the educational value we have discussed throughout this masterclass. The end is the resolution, where your product or service provides the ultimate relief. By wrapping your information in a narrative, you bypass the logical filters that customers use to block out advertisements and speak directly to their emotional brain. Let us look at a case study of a lifestyle brand called the Sustainable Soap Company. In 2026, they moved away from the traditional e-commerce model of sending 5 discount emails a week. Instead, they launched a series titled The Life of a Batch. Each email followed the journey of a single ingredient, like lavender sourced from a specific farm in Provence. They introduced the farmer by name, described the weather during the harvest, and explained why the specific soil composition mattered for the final scent. They didn't even ask for a sale until the 4th email in the sequence. The potential outcome was a 30% higher average order value compared to their previous discount-heavy strategy. Customers weren't just buying soap. They were buying into a story of quality and transparency. Step by step, finding your voice in 2026 requires a 3-stage audit. First, define your character. Are you the sage on the mountain, the rebel in the streets, or the supportive neighbor? Choose one and stick to it across every touchpoint. Second, identify your enemy. Great brands aren't just for something. They are against something. Are you against complexity, against overpriced alternatives, or against the status quo? By defining what you stand against, you give your audience something to rally behind. Third, establish your vocabulary. Use specific words and phrases that are unique to your brand. If you always refer to your subscribers as your fellow adventurers, it creates a sense of tribal belonging that a generic greeting never could. Furthermore, we must address the integration of artificial intelligence in 2026. While we have focused on the human soul of the email, AI is the tool that allows that soul to reach the right person. A professional uses AI not to write the content, but to analyze the sentiment of the replies and to predict the best possible time to send a message to a specific individual. Imagine if you could send a story about morning routines to the subscribers who actually wake up at 5 a.m., and a story about late-night productivity to the night owls. This level of hyper-personalization, powered by AI but guided by your unique human perspective, is the gold standard of 2026 marketing. Another critical shift is moving from a list-building mindset to a community-building mindset. In the past, the goal was to get as many people as possible to see your message. Today, the goal is to get as many people as possible to respond to your message. When a subscriber replies to your email, it does 2 things. First, it tells the email service providers like Gmail that you are a trusted sender, which practically secures your future deliverability. Second, it creates a feedback loop that tells you exactly what your audience wants next. A professional in 2026 doesn't hide behind a do not reply email address. They actively encourage conversation. They ask questions like, what is the one thing holding you back this week? Or which of these 2 topics should I cover in the next video? Consider a scenario where a financial educator named Marcus in Atlanta sends out a weekly update. Instead of just listing historical trends of the stock market, Marcus ends every email with a prompt. Reply to this and tell me one small financial win you had this week. Every Friday, Marcus spends an hour reading these replies and responding to a handful of them. This simple act of being present turns a passive audience into a loyal army. When Marcus eventually launches a new course or a premium newsletter, he doesn't have to sell hard. His community is already convinced of his value because he has consistently shown up for them. As we conclude this 10-part deep dive masterclass, it is important to look at the big picture. We have covered the technical setup of your engine, the psychology of the hook, the science of the click, the power of segmentation, the efficiency of automation, the clarity of analytics, the gatekeeping of deliverability, and the protection of legal compliance. But none of these pieces matter if you lose sight of the person on the other side of the screen. Email marketing is the only digital channel that is truly private, personal, and persistent. It is a privilege to be invited into someone's inbox. If you respect that space, provide consistent value, and speak with a genuine voice, the potential outcomes for your brand and your business in 2026 are limitless. You now have the complete blueprint. You have moved from a total beginner to someone who understands the advanced frameworks used by the top 1% of digital marketers. But knowledge without action is just entertainment. The next step is for you to open your chosen email service provider and send that first delivery email. The digital landscape is waiting for a voice like yours to cut through the noise. However, once your list starts growing and your automation is humming, you will face a new challenge. As your business scales, the complexity of your data increases, You will need to move from basic segmentation to advanced predictive modeling. You will need to know how to use your email list as a seed for high-conversion advertising audiences and how to integrate your inbox with your entire customer relationship management system. In our upcoming Advanced series, we are going to dive into the world of high-scale automation and AI-driven growth strategies. We will look at how the world's largest brands are using machine learning to predict customer churn before it happens, and how you can use those same tools to build a business that isn't just sustainable, but truly unstoppable. The journey doesn't end here. It is just entering the next phase.